Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday evening update on what is now potential Tropical Cyclone 9 here. If you look at the National Hurricane Center forecast, tropical storm warnings are in effect for the Dominican Republic and the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, as this is going to be advancing rather quickly off to the west-northwest. We're going to talk about all the possibilities with this storm going forward, as this is a big wave and means that it is going to be pretty hard to resolve what ultimately happens here with the system. You can see there is a southwestern quadrant or southwestern lobe of this vorticity, and you can see a northeastern lobe. We circled that a little better. That is now beginning to rotate around this southwestern lobe due to the southwestern lobe being significantly stronger. Just how strong that southwestern lobe is important for the overall evolution of where exactly this storm ends up. This is southwestern lobe is moving a little more westward, and the northeastern lobe is moving a little bit more to the west-northwest. So kind of the general flow here is to the west-northwest. And where exactly the center forms, whether it be south of Puerto Rico, on top of Puerto Rico, or to the north of Puerto Rico, really will determine where exactly and how exactly strong this storm will be come Thursday. Really, we have a lot of details to iron out. Unfortunately, our forecast right now for this system is not exactly high confidence, and so that leaves us with a lot of uncertainty for the next 48 hours as to what exactly the storm is going to be doing. But we do have some hints here, and I'm going to get into that as with our models here. We're going to first look at the European model here. You can see the European model has this very oblong wave, which is what we have seen. As you look at the actual wave axis here, there is no actual real defined area of vorticity. There's the southwestern lobe, and then there's the northeastern part. Both are around the same strength on this model. And as it evolves, it has a little more, circular of a storm here. This is a wave axis that is a little closer together, and so it's able to tighten up and become something here before it quickly crashes into Hispaniola. And if the center forms to the south here, it will not be able to get far enough north to miss Hispaniola, and as a result, this will fall apart here due to the high mountains in Hispaniola, and this will continue on as a very weak system and will not be able to get particularly strong in here. As far as the GFS model goes, there is a similar evolution or similar initialization of the storm strength in here, and you can see there is the southwestern side and the northeastern side here that are both kind of strong. The southwestern side clearly is more pronounced than the northeastern side. That is due to how it has evolved today, and so the southwestern side is able to rotate this northeastern lobe a little closer to the overall center of vorticity, and so you have what is becoming a closed low in here, and eventually does actually circle up and become a tighter storm. And you can see the northeastern side is actually able to drag the southwestern side a little bit further to the north here on the GFS run, which actually pulls it just to the north of Hispaniola. You don't want it hitting, if you want a tropical storm here, you don't want this hitting past this point, and it does not, thankfully, for the storm, not for us. So it's actually able to maintain itself and potentially strengthen. And one of the things that is important is actually how strong this will be if it does indeed come north of the islands. If it does impact Hispaniola, we probably won't hear about it ever again. But if you, it depends on how strong this is, and if it is stronger, like a couple of models have this becoming, it will be able to fight off what is this shear that is now here. This is Thursday evening here. as this storm is moving to the north of Hispaniola now, and you can see the storm is able to have some form of an anticyclone here, which helps push whatever shear that is out in front of it out of the way. You can see there's a general southwesterly flow trying to impart shear on the system and dry air that is to the south and west that will that may get entrained into the circulation depending on how strong the storm is. If it is able to fight off this trough that has imparted this southwesterly flow upon it with more heating in here, and it will be able to produce more of a healthy anticyclone and will be able to survive this trough. If it is able to do that, then we may be talking about a different storm in here, but the GFS shows that it tries to do that, but it ultimately fails and remains rather weak. And you can see this is not a very potent tropical cyclone. This is a tropical storm, but is not a very strong one, and so it ends up getting sheared, and the upper level flow ultimately takes the top off of the system. And if this solution does pan out, you'll end up seeing what is a disorganized tropical cyclone, and here that is to the east of Florida, and yeah, that's what the GFS says. Now, if you look at the H-Wharf model, you can see that the H-Wharf model this is an intensity model. This becomes strong in here. You can see the wave envelope is a little further to the north and actually has this. It actually organizes this north of Hispaniola, and you can see that it becomes a strong tropical storm in here to the north of Hispaniola, and it actually misses and becomes pretty strong. Actually, intensifies this into a hurricane north of Hispaniola, and this is able to fight off what would be the shear here due to a much healthier upper level anticyclone. You can see that it is much better protected as the flow is largely out of the system and not into the system, and that remains. But it is still, regardless, there's still a little bit of shear here as this trough is still going to be there, but it is not going to be as strong according to the H-Wharf model. And so we have what is a hurricane in here, but it is not particularly strong. It's kind of limited by its environment, as there's still a lot of dry air in this kind of region of the Caribbean, and so it is very easy for this to get wrapped into the circulation given the size of the system that is still pretty large. It's not super large in here. If you go back to the lower dynamics and the 10-meter wind, you can see that the tropical storm force wind field is kind of large, but it's not super big, so it's able to draw upon more areas. And so if you look further away, again, if you look at the relative humidity, you can see there's plenty of dry air for this for things to go wrong for this system, and it can draw upon any of that. And you can see little dents in the structure here, and it becomes a little lopsided as the shear is still out of the south and west, and eventually dents the system, and you have what is kind of a weaker storm, well, not necessarily weaker, this is still a hurricane, but a storm that is not particularly, extremely strong. It's kind of limited due to its environment, and you see that it actually weakens a little bit due to the drier air that it is surrounded by. The relative humidity outside of the storm is not particularly fantastic, and so it is limited, but it still is able to maintain its intensity, and it will be moving off to the northwest in this particular run. And if you're in Florida, if you're in these areas in the Bahamas and Cuba and Florida and potentially the southeast coast here, we can't really say much for you right now. There's just kind of a thing that is going to be in this area at some point. We don't know how strong this will be because it may, crash into Hispaniola, or it may, go north of Hispaniola and strengthen, and it may actually pass a little further to the south than maybe some are expecting due to potentially, how strong this southwestern blob of vorticity is. If it is stronger, it may be able to pull the storm a little further to the south, and it may not actually crash into Hispaniola immediately. And so, if that does indeed happen, we may be talking about a storm that's a little further to the south here. It would still obviously feel the effects of Hispaniola, but we never know what may happen here. This track forecast is not particularly certain, and there's a lot to flesh out about where exactly the center forms within this region. But we'll keep you posted. Thanks for watching.